Hello, this is Tina McMecken, Acting Executive Director for the American Society for the Positive Care of Children. Our mission is to prevent child abuse through positive parenting, advocacy, and education. I'm joined today by Vaughn McDaniel of Jonesboro Public Schools. Hey Vaughn, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Vaughn McDaniel. I'm the Director of Mental Health Services at Jonesboro Public Schools. Thank you. I'm a licensed professional counselor in the state of Arkansas, and I'm delighted that you asked me to talk to you about parenting and some of the positive things that we can do.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I have just a couple of questions for you, and I can't wait to get your expert opinion on all this. So, the first thing that I wanted to ask you about is something that's near and dear to our hearts here at the American SPCC, and that's the concept of positive parenting. So, we've done some research, and through that research, three primary themes emerged. And so what we've found is that positive parenting sort of involves spending quality time with your child, having open communication with them, and having meaningful conversations. And then last, positively reinforcing desired behavior. But I'd love to hear what positive parenting means to you.
Okay. When I teach positive parenting in therapy sessions, family sessions with the clients that I work with, I really talk a lot about having positive rules and expectations for not only for the child, but the parent as well. And then having them kind of laid out, discussed often, where the parent and the child really understands the rules and expectations that we have and the positive things that we can get out of the relationship together, really. And then I focus a lot on following through with those. So being consistent, having, appropriate boundaries, things like that. And just following through with really more positive types of not only consequences, but even like praise in situations when they're doing well.
Fantastic. Well, that is a great segue to my next question. Positively reinforcing desired behavior is one of the things that emerged, as I mentioned, when we asked people what they thought positive parenting involved. And, for me, I will admit I am guilty of positively reinforcing behavior with toys or candy. And, that's okay. I'm not being judgy, but we do what we have to do sometimes as moms and dads or caregivers. But I was hoping that, maybe you could share some other ideas for rewards or ways to positively reinforce behavior that don't involve candy or toys. So I'm excited to hear about that.
Okay, sure. I will say first off that candy and toys, kids like candy and toys, right? So I understand where a lot of parents come from, and I myself, like you said, I'm guilty of that myself sometimes, using candy or toys. But I think that if we will, the more we know our child, and the more that we kind of figure out things that they like to do as they grow throughout their, early adolescence to mid-adolescence, kind of when they're in the home, before they reach, later adolescence into adulthood, obviously. Things are going to change with the things that they like and stuff. But I think that if you just kind of get to know them a little bit, maybe even sometimes think outside the box, maybe, then you can figure out things that are not candy and toys. I have a daughter who is around kindergarten age, and she loves snacks. So instead of candy, we do lots of healthier alternatives. So we maybe do carrots or sliced apples or something like that. I've also had, really good success in areas of play with children. So if they're young, you might do puzzles or board games or something like that. But the older a child gets, it might be more appropriate to do anything from card games to even playing outside, basketball or throwing a baseball or something like that. A lot of times I've found in my work with families that children really crave, positive attention, adult attention, more than they would even candy or toys, even as exciting as those two things are. So,
Well, and I don't want to throw you a curveball, but I've heard that you mentioned positive attention, and that sort of rung a bell for me. I've heard that if kids don't get positive attention, they're going to get negative attention.
Negative
Is
attention.
that true? And what do you think about that?
I have found that that's pretty true in my clinical work. Now I do more like of a school-based type setting, and I don't do as much therapy per se. But when I was working more extensively with families, that was something that I saw as a very real pattern of the kids were going to get attention in some form or another, and it could be either positive, mostly from the parent choosing to be positive for long enough that the child desires that kind of positive attention through being good or doing whatever they're supposed to be doing, or it would tend to be more negative, and you would get things such as timeouts or other punishments or things like that, that the kid or the child, they do negative things so that they will get just some kind of attention. It just tends to end up being more negative than positive.
Got it. Got it. Well, when you positively reinforce behavior, do you actually, and I'm asking as a parent and also in your professional opinion,
Sure.
do you verbalize anything? So should you say, this is exactly what I wanted you to do. So, hey, that was great. Let's go outside and your prize is going to be, we're going to play basketball for 10 minutes. Is it important to sort of help verbalize it so that they make the connection, or how do you handle that to make sure that they get it, that the two things are together?
Sure. I've never really thought about it much, to be honest with you, but I always have given those verbal praises and verbal directions, just with my clients or even with my own child. They tend to, I don't know, understand more, get a deeper, a grasping than if you just hand them the positive or negative consequence or, reinforcement or whatever. So I've always done both. I don't know that I have any scientific data to really back that up, but that's always kind of what I've done. And I honestly do a little more explaining the older the kid gets, the older the child gets. So if I have a student who I'm working with that is in first or second grade, I normally do not give a ton of explanation. We just kind of go straight to the reinforcement. Whereas if I have a student or a client who is, older adolescents, so you're looking at, I don't know, 15 to 17, let's say, then I would probably do a little more verbalization to them and really try and get them to understand cognitively what's going on and why they're getting the reinforcement that they're getting.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay. Cool. Well, Vaughn, this has been great. You've given us some concrete tips and just some expert advice. And I would love it if you could, we've kind of covered a broad area. And if you could just distill down into, if you had the opportunity to give all the parents out there in YouTube land one piece of advice, if this is your shot to say, if you don't remember anything else, mom and dad or caregivers, remember this. So, Vaughn, what would that be?
I learned a phrase probably 2 or 3 years ago, and I've really taken it to heart, not only in my therapy processes with families or individuals, but also with my own family and little kids that are in around my family and my own daughter. But I heard somebody, I was at a conference one time, and somebody said, when we're talking about positive reinforcements and trying to change things for the better, we really want to try and catch them being good and not necessarily focus on all of the negative things or only catch them when they're doing things that are against the rules at home or not paying attention in class or whatever that is. And I've really tried to focus on catching more kids, and even adults for that matter, just being good and offering verbal reinforcement and positive reinforcement based on good behaviors and not bad or negative behaviors.
Well, Vaughn, I would like to positively reinforce your behavior on this webinar. This has been outstanding, and your advice is just solid gold. And I can't thank you enough for spending time with us today. And we really appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to talk with us. So thank you so much, Vaughn.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, I hope you have a great afternoon.
Yes, you as well.
Bye, Vaughn.